unfortunately falling to the interesting team fights and base rate situation, just general excitement from mTw.NA in game number one, Sella.
Yeah, that last game really had a little bit of everything. We often try to play up the games, talk about how exciting they are. That one really did live up to its billing. That one was one of the more entertaining matches I've seen in quite some time. We had a MTW first of all was ahead, and then they messed up a Baron fight, and Orb stole the Baron, and then Orb looked like they were going to win the game, and then they pushed a little bit too long, and MTW stormed back down right through the center lane and was able to finish off in a base race right at the end of that match. So it was a very, very exciting game, a lot of back and forth. The outcome was in doubt up until the last 10 seconds of the match. So, Tom, I hope that we're able to live up to that in this second match between these two teams.
We got a lot of hype coming into game number two, so if it's nothing less than spectacular, I think we're going to have a very, very disappointed crowd of people. But picks and bans coming out right away. The bans seem very similar to game number one. I mean, Lee Sin, Ari, Malphite. I don't know if Karthus is in there in game number one.
Yeah,
but
they've been identical thus far. Exactly the same.
I was going to see what kind of champions are they going to ban out, just based off what we saw in game number one. And there's the first different ban. Orb actually banning out Ezreal. You don't see an AD carry being banned out all too often.
Well, I've seen it happen back in the day, but the general feeling has been that the AD carry balance is pretty good of late, and that's why we haven't seen as many. But Ezreal really was extremely strong, played by balls in that last game. So that is the only change from the picks and bans in the first game. In the first game, we had Blitzcrank as the final ban for Orbit. But other than that, mTw has kept exactly the same ban. So the other 5 champions are exactly the same for what we saw in the first game. And it looks like Orbit just didn't want to deal with Ezreal in this particular match.
Very interestingly enough, they have left open Blitzcrank. Daydreaming is subbing in for Muffin Cutie for mTw.NA, which does mean that Blitzcrank is completely open, so we could see some God hands coming out from Daydream in this game. I don't want to get myself too excited, though, so he does do it often in solo queue. Don't know how often he'll do it in tournament play, though. So Orb Gaming really debating this first pick. Alistar is not banned out, so they could potentially be picking up Alistar for high again, or are they contemplating, do they let Alistar slip through and potentially go into the hands of somebody on mTw.NA? They only got 6 seconds left, so they're going to have to make up their mind pretty soon, but I don't know. That's a crucial first pick to give away or take in response.
And they're going to go with Nocturne. It looks like they don't want to deal with the Nocturne initiations that mTw was using in that last game. Even though we did see some suicidal Nocturne initiations a couple times, we saw some really effective ones as well from xSmithy, and I felt like he had a pretty decent game overall. Although on the other side, I felt like Nian's Jungle Alistar was pretty solid as well. He had some really nice initiations a couple times, and there it is. There's that Blitzcrank you were just talking about, Tom.
Oh man, Daydreaming's going to live up to his name right now. We're going to see God Hands left and right. Who they're going to pair it with in the bottom lane is going to be interesting enough as well. Now potentially going with that Shen pick. Last time, locking it in. I was saying, last time we saw Shen, he became a Nocturne, so I'm not going to be too set on that one. But once again,
He can't do that now. Nocturne's on the other side. You know, it would be really funny if we actually saw a Blitzcrank Shen lane. You can actually do silly stuff like that in bottom lane sometimes. It's not going to happen. We know it's not going to happen here, but it would be amusing. So we are going to see Shen. He was not played in that last game. He was not banned or picked, which you don't see too often, but it looks like he's either going to be roaming the jungle or he's going to be up in top lane doing his standard split push thing. And let's see what Orb is going to pick out here to counter. Right now, they're indicating Nunu, and if they pick Nunu, it's going to have to be a support. With the recent Nunu buffs, we are actually seeing a return to jungle Nunu, which had kind of gone out of favor after the changes to the Season 2 jungle. And there we go. Looks like it's going to be a support Nunu. Unless we have a laning Nocturne, which is possible, but I would not expect to see that.
I would not expect to see that at all. We're going to have to see, is Orb going to pick their support and their AD carry at the same time like they did last game? It looks like a Nunu and a Vayne. Vayne's going to have an attack and movement speed steroid to supplement the fact she'll be doing extra damage with Tumble. She's going to get into a little bit better positioning for those condemns against walls. And of course, Silver Bolts is going to hurt ever so slightly more if she can get the stacks off quickly and more often. So very nice pairing. Plus this, Nunu's going to be able to throw those Ice Blasts to slow down any champion Vayne wants to target with her auto attacks or get into position with that condemn. So it's a very nice synergy in the bot lane. Not quite the Alistar that we usually see with Vayne, but still a pretty good pickup.
Yes, yes. Nunu Vayne is one of the lanes in which Nunu does the best. His best lane traditionally has been with Kog'Maw, but works very well with Vayne as well. Again,
Hmm.
just as Tom mentioned, due to the Silver Bolt proc. So we do see that lane fairly frequently. Nunu doesn't really work that well with a lot of supports, but Vayne is one that he does do a good job with. So over on the other side, mTw, they've been denied the Ezreal. They're going to pick the closest thing that they can possibly get to Ezreal, which is going to be that Corki pick. So it looks like Balls is going to be playing Corki, and then it looks like they were pretty happy with the Cassiopeia pick, so they're going to have Mandatory Cloud running Cassiopeia once again in middle lane. So those, I mean, we've seen a lot of different champion picks thus far, but those last two ones from mTw pretty similar to what they ran in the last game. Corki not identical to Ezreal, but like we said, he's relatively close. So going to be a different lane with Blitzcrank and not Soraka, but overall, the feel of the team is going to be somewhat similar to what they did in the last game.
I think it might be like after seeing the bottom lane last game with a Soraka being that aggressive, I can agree. It's not going to be too much different because Blitzcrank is going to be equally as aggressive, if not more so, than the Soraka was last game. So Corki and Blitzcrank, the Valkyrie, the pull, the knock up into the air, the Gatling gun, the true damage, it's just a lane that I personally wouldn't want to be in if there was a Corki and Blitzcrank on the enemy team. Cassiopeia being locked in, of course, was a very, very nice pickup last game. She did a lot of work, maybe whiffed a couple of ultimates here or there. We'll see if she's going to be able to get her game back on point for that one. But meanwhile, on the opposite side, a Swain being picked up. I know Nubby Pooh Bear likes to play him some Swain, and Yuzuki's going to be taking Darius into the top lane. A very powerful top laner we've seen a little bit more of recently in tournament play.
Yeah, these are some unusual choices from Orb. We have seen Darius played sometimes in tournament play. The real biggest issue with Darius is he doesn't really have that much crowd control, is sort of the thing. He does have that ult, which is, of course, the kill-stealing ult that everybody's familiar with. He is very strong in solo queue. I feel like he's a little bit stronger in solo queues, but we have seen him in tournament play. We have seen teams pick him in some of these past events. The Swain thing is kind of a wild card. I like Swain. I think he's a fun champ to play. He's one of those champs that just is sort of that classic damage over time caster. It can be a little bit difficult to get out in front with Swain sometimes, as far as sort of beating the other person in lane. But he's one of those champs where if he does get ahead, he's really difficult to deal with, because when he pops that ultimate in team fights, he's going to be healing the whole time. You need those ignites to deal with him, and we see mTw as grabbing 3 ignites right now, so it looks like they're ready to deal with some Swain on the other side. But he's a champ we don't see that often, and it's fun to see more of these champs. So I don't know if Swain is necessarily a counterpick to Cassiopeia. I'm afraid I just don't know that matchup, but they're probably thinking that it is, otherwise they wouldn't be playing that. So going to be fun to watch that. And then our last pick, we do have Kale coming out. Kale coming out once again for mTw, same as last game.
Yeah, so we're going to see the Kale reprising the role in the top lane. Going to see how well Kale does against Darius. Darius, a little bit more of an aggressive champion than Vladimir was. He doesn't have necessarily the same sustain, but what Vladimir had in sustain, Darius has in more damage. Darius is going to be, of course, stacking the passive hemorrhage stacks on Kale. Kale's a champion that does come equipped with a heal, but it's more so from the movement speed than a direct heal, so he's going to give her a little bit of sustain in the top lane over there, but if Darius pulls an apprehend on Kale, it's going to be lights out for her in the top lane, so very, very dangerous lane for Kale, especially at the early stages. Like we said last game, Vladimir and Kale, the cool thing was it took a little bit of a while for them to both kind of scale into their mid to late game builds. Darius is a champion that's going to come out swinging right away, so I'm a little afraid for Holy It's Dawn, but I mean, it worked out for them last game. Could potentially work out for them this lane once again.
That's true. The thing is, though, Kale will become stronger than Darius eventually as the game goes on. I'm not sure it's that bad of a matchup for Kale. Kale kind of likes to be against those melee bruiser type champions where she can use her slow, her Q. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but where she can use that slow and then pop her ranged attack and just sort of poke away and kite. So you're absolutely right, Tom. If Darius gets that grab and pulls Kale in, then she's going to be in trouble. But if she can sit back and kite, then that's not really that bad of a matchup for her, in all honesty. But she is going to be weak at earlier levels. She will be susceptible to ganks. So if Orb can put pressure on that lane up in top, they can do quite well. And if they're not able to, then Kale's going to do what she did last game and then really take over in the mid to late game, because we saw Holy It's Dawn didn't really do much in the early part of the game, but by the end of the game, he was very, very strong. He picked up almost all of his kills in the team fights towards the end of the game. So it's going to be jungle Shen. Shen's going to be in the jungle, not in top lane. And it's going to be Shen up against Nocturne in the jungle. So just to set that matchup. And just one other thing while I'm talking here, note that once again, the support Lemon Nation for Orb is going with Heal Exhaust, so no flash there. whereas a lot of the other teams like to run Flash Exhaust, which is kind of standard for supports.
Yeah, we do see Flash Exhaust on the opposite side for Daydreaming. So once again, very interestingly enough, Lemon Nation does not want to pick up the Flash. You might want to think Nunu wants a little bit of that positioning, or just a little bit extra oomph to try to catch someone with an Ice Blast and keep up a chase for his ranged carry or something. But nope. Deciding that if they're not going to come, they're not going to be close enough to him. He doesn't want to go after them anyway. One important thing I think in this matchup is going to be, like you said, Kale's going to be very exposed in that top lane. We're not necessarily sure how the Cassiopeia versus Swain lane is going to go, but it could potentially go in favor of one or the other champion. One of the things that they have in the jungle for this game, Nocturne for Orb, a very, very quick jungler. It has a lot of map presence, of course, with his ultimate, and we saw Nocturne being aggressive last game with the Alistar. Now mTw.NA has a Shen pick in the jungle, and Shen, not necessarily known for being as aggressive, he's known for getting the ultimate and saving his carries and saving champions are going to be going in for ganks and stuff like that, as opposed to being super aggressive. So if Orb High is going to be as aggressive as he was last game, there's no Nocturne on mTw.NA now to try to butt heads with that Alistar. They have a different kind of slower, more defensive jungler than someone who's going to be as active. And like you said, that top lane with Kale, she's very susceptible to ganks. That Nocturne's going to be able to gank like level 3 like we saw last game. Shen's not known for ganking at level 3.
No, he's not, and that's a nice contrast to bring up there, that Shen is a farm jungler. He's just there to get farmed up and have his ult, basically, and then be there to split push later on in the game. So he's not going to be doing that much early in the game. He's not. You don't see on the loading screen. You don't go, "Oh, Jungle Shen, man, that's so scary." You're not worried about Jungle Shen. You're worried about what he's going to do late game. That's really the issue right there. So it's a very different style of play, and that's a good thing to point out there. I'm a little bit disappointed as we talked about Daydreaming. I would have just been so excited if he had the Rusty Blitzcrank skin. I guess that he probably wasn't playing League of Legends back then. Would have really enjoyed that. Boom Boom Blitzcrank is also a nice skin right there. But anyway, we should be just about ready to get this started. I will note once again, Nien, the Vayne player, does have Cleanse, not Ignite, and that's very standard on Vayne. With Vayne, it's more about surviving than having extra killing power. She has plenty of killing power on her own. You just want to keep her alive so she can just keep tumbling around, proccing her Silver Bolt. So that's fairly standard as well, but it is a little bit different than what we've seen. And looks like we're going to get started. Other thing I will mention now that they're buying, Blitzcrank going with the boots and 2 ward starts. So again, a little bit different than the standard support build, but it makes sense for Blitzcrank. And we'll see if these teams decide to go for a level 1 engagement.
Yeah, speaking of level 1 engagements, once again, Scylla, you always like to analyze what team has the better level 1 invade just in case. We have a Blitzcrank on mTw.NA, so that's always going to have my vote. But how do you feel if they do get a level 1 engagement? How is Orb going to stack up against that?
I'd agree. MTW has Blitzcrank Shen. That's very strong. Shen can taunt 5 people. Blitzcrank, of course, is a wild card, can grab people and can instantly win the fight. But Orb's level 1 is not terrible. They do have Swain. His binding is quite good at level 1. Darius is not terrible either. He doesn't have a stun, but he can hit a lot of people with his what is it? His Q, I think it is, his axe spinning thing. And even Nunu can be pretty scary. It looks like they might actually fight here though. Nunu's snowball can be pretty dangerous at level 1 because it is such a heavy slow on that snowball. So we'll see. MTW, definitely the advantage, but Orb is not terrible. Orb could be a lot worse than what they have, but they still they don't really want to fight this because all it takes is one person to be grabbed and it's first blood, basically. So they have to be very cautious.
And that Swain still did not level up a skill. He could get that never move in case there's an engagement going down. Both teams kind of just going in through the jungle, and then that's basically it from mTw.NA. Did not even put a ward down over by Wraiths. I think just the threat of them being in the jungle was enough. Cassiopeia, once again, going to lay down poison damage, going to pick up any kills in this one. Another poison shot goes down. Not going to pick up the big Wraith. Actually, that's no kills in that engagement right there. So a little bit of a better start for the jungler this game from or making sure he got all the rates this time. Meanwhile, Jungle Shen going to go over here, pick up his wolves, and then go for a blue buff. Blitzcrank with a literal pull on that blue buff will make sure that Shen's going to be taking it down in absolutely no time. So both junglers, fairly standard starts, fairly quick starts. One note here, Shen saving that smite on that blue buff. He's not going to use it to take it down. He's going to go immediately to his red buff after this and potentially go for a level 3 gank, which I said doesn't happen. So I love when teams do this to me.
No, and it looks like Orb High is going to do the same thing. He also has a smite. It looks like they're both going to rush over to the other major buff that they didn't do, whether red or blue on each side, and then it looks like they're going to use the smite, grab that, and then probably look to head top because we see that a lot from the junglers. Just rush to level 3 with double buff with red and blue, and then rush top and see if you can get a kill. It's usually pretty effective. So Orb High is already heading up that way. Let's see if he's able to do this. There's a ward, but it is a ward by Orb.
Yeah, so that does mean that Shen is actually a little bit behind in his jungle, just relatively slower compared to Nocturne, has stopped at his rates and is not getting his red buff yet. So he's actually be coming in for a little bit of a later gank right now. Kale and Darius, though, in this top lane, like we said, completely exposed to both junglers and those early ganks. Kale could only be expecting something like this as they did it to Orb Gaming last game. So interestingly enough, here comes Nocturne waiting in the wings. I don't exactly know if Kale's seeing him, but now she definitely does. There goes the slow onto Darius. Nocturne's going to come in here. Fear picked up at level 3. Is it going to be enough? Ooh, what a great Fear. Walking Kale away from the tower. Hemorrhage stacks will not be enough to tick down and pick up a kill, though. Nocturne did not want to take too many tower shots. And now Shen, the one waiting in the bush. We're going to see if anything happens here, Solo.
Wow, that Fear proc could not have been worse for Holiotstein. He was very lucky to survive that. So yeah, Shen's going to do the same thing, but remember, there's a ward here. They put down a ward there at level 1, so this could be very bad for mTw. Orb High is still in the area, and Holiotstein is quite low, so if they pick this... Oh, Cass is actually coming up as well, and here we go.
Ooh, there's the Apprehend down on Kale. Ignites, and Fear's going off. Another really great Fear will walk Kale into her death. Nocturne picked up that kill. Shen has to burn a flash to get out of there. Hemorrhage stack sticking down. Cassiopeia coming from mid lane. Shen wants to get the taunt, a little extra tower damage going on to Darius there. Nocturne now stuck between a bunch of champions here. Has to burn his flash as well, so he's going to be able to get out of there. We do see Swain coming up from the mid lane as well. Aggression on the bottom lane too. Potentially a kill here. Ball's getting very low. 9 is also extremely low. Lemon Nation now low on top of all this, and no kill's going to be net. Back on the top lane, though, we do eventually see Yuzuki's going to go down tower dive, past the tower, take up a kill on Mandatory Cloud. A little overstayed welcome there on their own side of the tower, I guess, from mTw.NA, but nonetheless, aggression from both teams just like last game.
That Apprehend, the pull that Darius has, it's just doing work in these fights. Those grabs are just setting up these plays. The 2 Fear procs that Orb High has gotten have just been absolutely perfect. He couldn't have controlled the enemy champ better if he were clicking for them himself in terms of just running back in the exact opposite direction. That was really well played by Orb. It looked like that was going to turn into a 1-for-1 up there, or at least a 2-for-1, but they were able to get everyone out safely. They were able to bring Swain up from middle lane and come into that fight later on and ensure that everybody got out safely. So big advantage for them in the top lane. The first blood and the second kill is definitely going to help put them ahead, and you can see Darius is grabbing the double Doran's Blade. That's going to give him a lot of early game power, even going so far as to grab a mana potion, so he has the extra gold for it. So that is going to be a very dangerous lane for Kale right now. And we'll see if Orb is going to be able to use this early 700 gold lead and be able to snowball it out into a bigger lead from there. But they played that early fight that we just saw extremely well.
And on top of this, Nocturne already completing his Madred's Razors for his Wriggles Lantern in the jungle. Shen is going back onto his jungle pattern at level 4. Only has boosts to his name, has not gone back to buy yet, but does not nearly have the first blood gold that Nocturne got.
Too. Look where Nocturne is lurking in bottom lane.
Ooh, Daydreaming going to walk right past this. No, walks into the Tribush to ward, and he's actually going to come down here and maybe go for a pull. Ooh, Corki getting very aggressive, but there it is, that Nocturne you mentioned. Fear going off. Not the same kind of fear on Kale. I guess Corki's mechanical little copter thing there prevents that from happening. Pull goes down, but does not land on anything. Nocturne Spell Shield is going to save him from a taunt, and then Vayne with the Condemned and knock Shen away. No more counter aggression there from mTw.NA. Very nice gank there. They did get a lot of damage on balls and not pick up a kill, but still, this Nocturne being super, super aggressive on the map right now.
If the Fear proc had been as lucky as the earlier ones, that would have been a kill. But fortunately for balls, he ran in exactly the direction he wanted, kept running back towards his tower. So that's the little elements of RNG luck right there. A little bit of luck. Got the luck in top lane, didn't quite get it in bottom lane, but it was a nicely set up gank. Fortunately for mTw, they had Shen ganking the lane at the same time and was able to turn it into a 3-for-3. No one dying on either side.
Meanwhile, mid lane, we do see Shen kind of lurking around here. Might want to go for a gank here on Swain, but decides nothing's going to come of that when it does go away. Both actually Swain a little bit ahead because of that kill in the top lane on Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia level 5, now hitting level 6. Swain is already level 6.
Darius going for top,
Ooh.
and he just got the kill.
I didn't actually see that one.
Right there, Darius just used his Apprehend. He got the grab in. He used his axe, what's it called, Decimate, and then he popped Ignite, used his ult. And together it was enough to finish that off. And Yuzuki has now got a commanding lead in top lane. He's going to deny the 2 full waves of minions on the tower right here. And he is way out in front thanks to that early pressure that we saw earlier in this match.
Yeah, actually, rewound for a second. While you were talking about it, you were describing everything going on at the same exact time, despite you not knowing that I rewound it. So, very nice analysis of that one. So, it was perfect. Like you said, denying a lot of stuff. But bottom lane, though, we're going to get Blitzcrank and Corki picking up a kill on Vayne right there. Very nice pull from Daydreaming is going to land home on Vayne and pick up a kill for Corki in the bot lane. That aggression from down there, they're constantly pushing him back against the tower. Even though Nocturne was just there, they're already back up against the enemy tower. So that constant Blitzcrank aggression, that constant quirky Gatling gun and damage, just being a little bit too much for Vayne and Nuno in the earlier stages of this game right now.
This is something we haven't mentioned, and we really should. This is what's keeping mTw in the match right now. They are in all kinds of trouble top, but their bottom lane is really, really winning quite hard. It's not just the kill that mTw just got, which is great. Don't get me wrong, the kill is great. But look at the minion kills. It's 62 for Corki to 30 for Vayne. So they are really shutting down this lane in bottom, and that's what mTw needs because they're in so much trouble top. They need to win one of these lanes, and fortunately for them, they are currently winning bot, and they're winning it very hard, so that's a great sign for them.
Yeah, there's about 1,000k gold, 1,000k, that makes a lot of sense, 1,000 gold advantage for Corki in the bot lane over Vayne, whereas in the top lane here, Darius with 2,600 gold, to Kale's not even 1,700 gold. So there is basically a mirror of the top lane and bottom lane. Like you said, bottom lane kind of trying to keep mTw.NA from this one, counteracting as much damage as they can be from that top lane. But the one thing is, Vayne is going to be an AD carry that can still snowball out of control and become the hyper carry late game, as long as she's able to stay into the game that long and get a couple items. If Kale gets shut down early by Darius, she's going to have a very, very hard time coming back from that one. She is kind of like an AD carry in the sense that she will be able to scale into late game like she did last game with Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer, all the same sorts of items, but she's doing it by herself. She doesn't have a support to keep her protected up there.
Here we go mid. Nocturne ulting in. There's the flash. A nice fear proc. It actually runs Mandatory Cloud out of the binding from Swain. And is this Ignite going to finish off nTw.NA? It is. So that Fear proc actually running Cassiopeia out of the Swain binding, which is kind of funny. So it's just going to end up being a 1-for-1 right there. Kale also getting chunked really hard in top lane. Yuzuki also quite low. Yuzuki did use his ult. He did not get the kill. So they're going to have to play very cautiously up there, both of them. Shen ult also being used in that last fight. So Shen ult going to be on cooldown for over 3 minutes with this new, 193 seconds. It's like a teleport on cooldown there before he can use it again. So looks like Yuzuki is going to be strong enough to deny these minions at tower to Holy It's Done. And again, that's what Orb wants to do up here in top lane, as you were talking about a minute ago, Tom.
Yeah, interestingly enough, the Shen ultimate, I thought it went all the way through, and it could have easily gotten the kill on, say, maybe and saved Cassiopeia, but it didn't. Shen just didn't teleport in at that point, so...
Well, he didn't teleport in because Mandatory Cloud died. Mandatory Cloud died before the teleport completed.
Ah, man, I thought Mandatory Cloud was alive for just long. It looked like there's a little bit of a delay, but I guess the kill went off before Shen could teleport in, so a little unfortunate timing there for mTw.NA. They did pick up the kill on Swain anyway through the Ignite, so pretty much a 1-for-1 in that mid lane. Isn't going to amount to too much, although now Orb in position to go for a Dragon. 4 members of the team down here are going to go for it. They are directly on top of a ward from mTw.NA, so they know exactly what's up with this one, but no reaction really. Only thing is Daydreaming kind of pops up over here to see if maybe he could try to pull it, but they do have basically a wall of champions in the way. So Orb Gaming going to continue pushing any advantage that they had from the early game, picking up a Dragon, 4 kills to 2 right now, and a slight gold advantage in this game. A little bit of a mirror from last game where mTw.NA had it. Bot lane though, there's a new ultimate going up. Ball's taking a lot of damage. Condemned does not net him against the wall, but Silver Bolt's proc will be enough damage to take out Corki. Daydreaming's in trouble now. Looks like Vayne's going to get a lot of damage. 3 Silver Bolt's procs. 1, 2, flash for a 3rd, and that is another kill being picked up in the bottom lane right there. Vayne now spiraling that lane in favor of Orb, much like the rest.
Got a Shen gank in top.
Oh, there's a flash from Darius, going to negate any gank from up there. And like I said, Shen's not as aggressive as Nocturne was last game. His ganks not nearly as powerful, or I wouldn't say as scary. They're still pretty scary, but they're not as powerful and as threatening as like a Nocturne that can run in there and kill you, which is being demonstrated by Orb right now.
Everything's going right for Orb right now. They got the double kill in bottom, which is exactly what Vayne needed. They needed that desperately because that was the one lane where they're losing. They're doing well elsewhere on the map. Mid's about even, but again, we've seen how well they're winning in top. The reason why Orb got that Dragon is they saw Shen was top earlier. Earlier, Kale had been forced out of lane. Xmithy had to go cover top lane. As soon as they saw that, they ran forward to Dragon. And with Shen all the way up in top lane and his ult on cooldown, there really wasn't anything that mTw could do about that. Right now, we actually have an engagement in mid. Here comes the Nocturne ult as well. Cass ult, though, going to hit on nTw.NA. He is going to get the kill. He's going to get taunted by Xmithy, but that's not going to be enough. And now the snowball at work again, going to pick up that. And then in top lane, Yuzuki's going to finish off a kill. He didn't even need to. Oh, no, he did use his ult earlier off camera. He did use his ult. So another 2 kills for Orb, and this game is just really going, coming up peaches and cream for them right here. They're ahead by 3,000 gold, and they're looking really strong in this match. The only lane they're in trouble is bottom lane, and like you said, Tom, if Vayne is behind in the laning phase, it's not good, but it's not that big a deal because as long as she's just able to farm, even if she loses the tower, even if she loses lane, she'll still be strong later on in the game. She doesn't need to win the lane to still be effective. So Orb's in a really great position. We'll see if they can keep this rolling or if MTW is going to be able to claw their way back and start closing this gold gap.
And the thing is, mTw.NA keeps falling into the same kind of patterns. We see Darius in the top lane is constantly being aggressive on Kayle. If Kayle pushes
that... fight in bot right now. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. We actually have Blitzcrank coming in here, getting a lot of damage from Silver Bolts on Vayne. Vayne procs the ultimate, though, to try to get a lot down here. Corki, in the meantime, is dealing as much damage as he can on the Nunu. A little bit of a phosphorus bomb going off there, but nope, actually that was an ultimate. Not going to deal any damage to Nunu, missing a couple targets right there. So they're going to be okay for now, but of course the Blitzcrank arm is ever threatening, ever impending doom if one of them gets pulled by that one. But top lane, they keep falling into the same kind of things. Top lane and mid lane. That gank at mid lane was very similar to the one we saw last. Nocturne comes in. Cassiopeia gets hit with a never move from Swain. She tries to ult Swain in tower range. Swain is going to live because of his sustain and all the minions they wind up diving through. And then Shen shows up like a half a second too late to save Cassiopeia. Top lane, Kayle tries to extend to try to farm a little bit. Darius is just too far ahead right there and picks up a kill. Actually, bottom lane, speaking of pick up a kill, Balls are going to pick up a kill on the Nunu right there. Lemonation perhaps getting a little bit too close to Blitzcrank there and winds up falling.
I was watching that. That was just a grab straight onto Nunu and an immediate Corki just burst and kill.
This is not done yet. Vayne is trying to fight for her life against these minions here, but they want to push down this tower. Daydream and running in. Is he going to knock her up? Exhaust goes down. There comes the pull, but a nice tumble out of the way is going to save Vayne from that one. Fortunately, the tower now is up to just a bunch of free hits, but nope, Balls and Daydream just going to fall back, be content with this one. There's a lot of pings going down by mTw.NA's red buff over here. Shen actually has to taunt over the wall to get away from this. The aggressive Nocturne and Darius just going to take it away from him like taking candy from a baby at this point. Even Swain is just chilling here with a blue buff, as now both red buffs on the map are taken by Orbit Gaming. Cassiopeia, you want to get out of there. There's 3 members of the enemy team behind you. Please start running away. She's not running away, Sola. There's an ultimate coming down from Nocturne. It's going to land home. A flash goes off, but the fear is still tethered. Another broken fear from Nocturne. Apprehend over the wall. Shen comes in, gets a taunt down, but the area of effect damage from Swain's ultimate too much. Now Swain's going down with the Decrepify onto Shen. Shen's in trouble. Flashes through the tower. A Kayle ultimate's going to save him from the Darius ultimate. mTw.NA is now getting very low. Is going to fall down to Kayle, but Darius will pick up a kill on Shen there. Still a 2-for-1 in favor of Orbit.
Yeah, a lot of good action there once again. Nicely done. You could just see that they were setting up for that Nocturne ult. Another nice fear proc for Orb there on that. And then a great kill out there in blocking the damage from Yuzuki's Darius ult, but it is still going to be a kill. Going to turn it into a 1-for-1 as Newbie Pooh Bear ends up falling. But again, Orbit, we see how aggressive they're being. We saw them go in and just invade and take that red buff away. mTw knew that they were there. They just couldn't do anything about it. They were going to die if they chose to contest that. So that's when you know you're in trouble, when the enemy team is just rushing in and they're stealing your red, they're stealing your blue, and you know that they're there and you just can't do anything about it. That's always a really bad sign. So again, Orb has stretched this out. Now they have a 4,000 gold lead. So they continue to stretch this out, and that's what you want to do when you get the lead. You just want to keep building that advantage, just building a little bit more at a time. That mid tower is very close to going down as well, and that will open up even more of the map for invading for Orb. They can't invade the bottom part of the jungle as much right now because those 2 junglers are still up in mid and top, or in mid and bottom, excuse me. But they really have free run of the top side of the map, and we saw when they went in and stole that red buff. So Dragon's going to be up pretty soon in another minute or 2, and we'll see if we have some kind of decisive Dragon fight. And that's really the kind of thing that mTw needs to get. They need to win a fight like that to get back in this one. They're not too far out to not come back. They can still come back, but they're not in great shape. And we'll see if they're able to do anything. Here comes the Dragon just on kill. Yep,
Dragon is going to spawn up. Orbit Gaming has 4 members down here to take this one. I was following Shen around the map because he decided to forego getting his Aegis of the Legion to get a Oracle's Elixir and try to wind up getting a little bit of an advantage for his team by denying the vision from Orbit Gaming. He's roaming around all of the map right now, making sure he's clearing out as many wards as possible. He is kind of a little awkwardly out of position, walked all the way around by the blue buff and is now placing wards of his own here. He's actually going to recall back to base, potentially go back and buy a couple items. But still, now he's trying to generate some sort of advantage for his team. They are behind, so they're going to be playing it smart. They're going to try to deny as much vision and therefore supplement it with their own like they had last game. so they can constantly keep tabs on where Orbit's going to be and try to react accordingly to this one. Shen's going to have to be playing very, very good defense. Kale did not take down the tower in top lane, but did get a good push going down, so she has a little bit more farm under her belt, so actually be able enough to pick up that BF sword and start doing a little bit more damage. But still, they're really, really susceptible to this Darius in top lane, and extremely susceptible to that Nocturne ultimate, where I think every time but one it's gone off, he's wound up netting a kill or an assist from it.
Yeah, Darius actually hitting the bottom lane. I don't think he's going to be able to do anything here. Maybe. I don't think the range is that great on Apprehend, though. So, yeah, it looks like that's not going to turn into anything. The one thing about that, I mean, it's great that Shen's got the Oracle. Don't get me wrong. It's great if he can clear wards. The only thing about that is Shen was not even remotely close to Dragon. Oh, here we go. Another gank on mid. We'll get back to that.
There goes the ultimate straight down the middle again. W Pooh Bear, there he goes. Getting the never move off right there. Cassiopeia trying to get the ultimate in tower range. Nothing's going to happen. I think we've seen this 3 or 4 times already, Sala. This is the textbook play by Orb Gaming at this point in time.
Yeah, and Orb is pushing with 3 on bottom lane as well. They really want to get this tower. They're gonna take middle tower and bottom tower right here, and they may be able to pick off some kills, but it looks like Balls is going to get out of there. So they're going to take 2 towers out of this as Kale takes top tower, but it's still going to be 2 towers for 1 in favor of Orbit Gaming.
And Orbit now pushing their advantages, snowballing ahead to about a 5,500 gold lead. Quite the opposite flip-flop from what we saw last game. But if last game dictates anything, Sella, Orb Gaming still has a chance to mess up a little bit, and mTw.NA will be able to capitalize. But right now, they're looking very strong, continuing this 3-man push on bottom. Shen is going to rotate down over here as well. Kale still continuing to push his top lane. There's a Blitzcrank pull onto Yuzuki. Yuzuki is going to have to burn the flash to get away. Lemon Nation taking a lot of damage, gets taunted over the wall. Exhaust goes off onto Xfinity. He's really slow between all those slows on the team, and then Yuzuki will pick up the kill with his ultimate. So a kill going there again. Flash and a knock up there from Blitzcrank onto Vayne. There goes the pull, but a flash is a little bit too much for the pull range there, and he's going to be able to get away from that one. So very, very nice. Try to come back into that from mTw.NA. A very nice kill snipe there from Darius onto Shen. Trades a 1-for-1. Kale in the meantime being chased off of the top lane push from Swain, and now Orbit Gaming still just comfortable in their lead right now, Salah.
Orb just stretching out this lead, now up to 6,000 gold, so they're doing exactly what they need to do. While all that was going on, not only did they get the towers, they stole the blue buff away from mTw as well. Cassiopeia much less scary without that blue, so it did go over to Vayne. Some nice flashes by Orb as well. mTw they had some great Blitzcrank grabs there from Daydreamin', but every time it looked like he was about to land a grab, either Darius flashed out right after he got grabbed, and then Vayne was going to get grabbed, and she flashed away before she could get hit by it. So some really nice fast reaction time right there. And again, with having these towers down, those towers just adding a lot of global gold to Orbit, and really giving them, they're just building this lead right now with all the global gold that keeps coming into their side. It's not even so much the kills, I think, although, I mean, sure, it's nice to have 12 kills, but they've just, they've got both dragons, they've got 3 towers, and those advantages really stack up. The other thing that I noticed as well is, you know, the reason why you pick Shen, you don't pick Shen because he's a good jungler, you pick him because his ult allows him to jump in and save people. Has Shen saved anyone in this game with his ult yet? Nope. I'm not sure that we've seen it, Tom, because every time he comes in, the shield goes on, but the person he's ulting just dies anyway. And if Shen's not saving people, then he's just a weak jungler who doesn't clear the jungle very fast, and that's really what we've been seeing thus far. So far, I'd have to say the Shen pick just has not really worked out for mTw, and it seemed like they were much more effective. It's like whoever has Nocturne wins, right?
I mean, that's basically what it seems like right here. Once again, Pain's going down on mid lane. There's a Nocturne waiting in the wings here. Kale now in the mid lane as well. This is a 4 versus 2. Darius, is he going to get the apprehend? No, he decides to turn around. 4 versus 4 now as the rest of the bottom lane shows up for mTw.NA. So still, though, 5 people here from Orb in the mid lane. They're threatening potentially the objective here. Shen is starting to do a little bit of what he needs to do with that split pushing, but like you said, if he ultimates in and the target dies, he's not going to pop him in the team fight. He's not going to save them. No taunts are going to go off, and it's pretty much an ineffective jungle. So Nocturne looking to be the good jungler of this series. Blitzcrank barely missing a pull on him as we're talking about him right there. But still, Nocturne really starting to be the MVP because of the map control he offers. Both Shen and Alistar. Alistar can be very aggressive like he was last game, just wasn't warding nearly as much as he could be. And now Shen this game, having to buy an Oracle's Elixir, he's only warding really once he kills wards. We're now at like the 22 minute mark of the game, and Shen is now like placing wards around the map, has an Oracle's Elixir, and just doing that, which was what the advantage was entirely for Orbit in the first 20 minutes of the game.
Well, Shen did lose his first Oracle when he died the last time, unfortunately for him, so he did have to rebuy that, and of course that's slowing down that's making that advantage even worse off. I would expect, it looks like Dragon's about to pop in another minute or so, but I would expect Orbit to force a Baron fight relatively soon, because if they can get the Oracle, if they can clear out the wards, they can just force mTw to come fight them at Baron. It's a little bit risky, but I mean, they've got all the outer towers. They're just going to get Shen split pushed to death if they don't, force fights at global objectives. And they're so much stronger right now. I feel like if they just force a fight, I mean, they're going to Dragon right now. It's about to respawn. They're going to pick that one up. But I feel like they can just really put pressure onto Baron. They've got the Oracle on Nunu, and I expect to see them do that as a way of countering that Shen split push, which we're finally seeing him start to do. And Dragon, wow, dropping in about 4 seconds there, going down really fast. So you can see that if they do that, the Baron will go down in probably about 12 seconds or so. So they don't need to, if they can clear out the wards and make sure that there's no vision there, they really can put a lot of pressure on mTw to come fight them over here by the Baron pit, and it looks like that's what they're going to do.
And if I don't know about you, but Orbit Gaming might be a little skeptical with how many awry Baron attempts are in game number 1, but once again, they have such a great, strong positioning, such a great, strong lead. Ooh, Darius barely missing the apprehend over the wall on the Shen right there. They have Silver Bolts on Vayne, which is ridiculously good to taking down Baron. They have Nocturne with a Wriggles Lantern, also extremely good, and he's going to be able to play Blood Boiled, one or the other of them by Nunu. Nunu actually, in the meantime, gets pulled over the wall. That's an initiation from Nocturne on there, though. Darius in this as well. Shen flashes out of the way, leaving Blitzcrank and Kale to die. Kale pops the ultimate. Nunu pops the ultimate. Kale actually going to flash over the wall and live for the time being, but she's getting extremely low. Nocturne will pick up the kill there. We are, meanwhile, following the rest of them. Apprehend goes down on both Cassiopeia and Corki. Darius sealing the deal with an ultimate kill on the Cassiopeia right there. That is a 3 for none, and even though mTw.NA thought they had the good engagement right there, well, Nocturne turned that one around. They pulled Nunu, thought they had the one person they wanted. Unfortunately, Nocturne dove in, Darius ran in as well, and they wound up pulling 3 people technically, and that was not the way they wanted to have that go. Nunu getting very, very low, has to pop the summoner heal on Baron, but it looks like they're still going to take this Baron. mTw.NA can only but watch through, well, fog of war on that one. As 15 kills to 4, Orbit Gaming now has the commanding lead here, about 10,000 gold, Sulla.
That was the pull that backfired there for sure. They pulled Nunu right into the middle of their team, which looked great, as you said, right until Nocturne ulted, and all of a sudden no one could see anything, and everyone from Orb was just racing into the middle of mTw. And there's a surrender. Game's over. GG. Wow. That's a bit of a fast surrender, but means we got a fast game, and we're going to game 3 here, aren't we, Tom?
Yes, we are. The game was not as quite back and forth as game number 1 was, but exciting nonetheless. Orbit Gaming, we saw this happen a little bit earlier in the tournament as well. Troopers, a relatively unknown team, took game number 1 off Orbit Gaming surprisingly fast. I think it was like a 20-minute game, and they took them down without a surrender vote. It was just a finished game. They came in with this very annoying composition with Zillion and Urgot and all these revives and everything. Orb Gaming lost that game. They came back immediately in game number 2 and stomped them into a 20-minute surrender. So once again, we see Orbit Gaming learning from their mistakes in game number 1, really applying them to game number 2. And if mTw.NA can do the same exact thing, that means we have a hell of a game 3 on our hands, Sulla.
I was just impressed at how well the Darius pick worked out. Yazaki 604 in that match. It was we saw that Orb focused on getting ahead. We had that fight at like the 5-minute mark where it was 2-0 in favor of Orb, and they just put their foot down hard on that top lane and just snowballed straight from there. So really, the Darius pick working out beautifully. Even though Vayne was a little bit behind early on, she was able to get farmed up and still be really effective. And then MVP of the game, Nocturne, Orb high on Nocturne. Just it seemed as though mTw had no answer for those Nocturne ults. It just were wrecking Cassiopeia mid. Poor Mandatory Cloud got picked on over and over again. 1-6 that game. So will we see a Nocturne ban, or will he be first picked in this game once again? So will be fun to see in game 3.
Yes, indeed, Sulla. So we're going to cut to a quick commercial break. We'll be back underway. Game number 3, mTw.NA, Orbit Gaming, all tied up at 1. Winner's going to advance to the semifinals. Loser will fall down to the losers bracket to face someone else in this tournament. We're going to have to see how this goes in game number 3 right after a short break.